How quantum principles can actually transform your reality. Ever feel like you're just going through the motions? That life has become a bit too predictable, maybe even a little mundane? You've probably heard the buzzwords all over the place. Quantum leap, manifestation, the observer effect. But what if I told you that tucked away inside these often misunderstood ideas are actual practical keys that could genuinely shift your life from ordinary to extraordinary? What if the universe's deepest secrets weren't just for physicists in labs, but for you, right here, right now? The Promise, Introduction to Solution. Now, this isn't about wishful thinking or some dense scientific jargon that'll fly right over your head. This is really about how certain ideas, inspired by actual quantum principles, that mind-bending science of the super small, can give us powerful metaphors and new ways to think, enough to truly change how we experience reality. We're going to explore these concepts in a simple, straightforward way. More importantly, we'll see how they can be interpreted as tools for your own personal transformation. It's about moving from feeling like a passenger in your life to actively co-creating a reality that truly resonates with who you are and what you want. We're not saying your thoughts are directly zapping subatomic particles around your living room, but we are saying that these quantum ideas can revolutionize your perspective, and through that, change your life. Section 1. The Observer Effect. Where does your attention go? Let's kick things off with one of the most fascinating concepts from quantum mechanics, and one you've likely heard a bit about: the observer effect. Down in the quantum realm, at the tiny scale of atoms and particles, the very act of measuring or observing something can actually change it. For example, an electron might be cruising along like a spread-out wave of possibilities. But the moment scientists try to pinpoint its exact location, it chooses a spot and acts like a distinct particle. The observation itself becomes part of the experiment and shapes the outcome. At that tiny scale, you simply can't observe something without affecting it. Now, here's a really important point. Science shows this happening with subatomic particles and very specialized measuring tools. There isn't scientific proof that our everyday, conscious attention directly makes physical objects appear or disappear in our big-scale world in that same way. However, let's think about this as a potent metaphor for our lives. You know the saying, where your attention goes, your energy flows. What you focus on tends to get bigger in your experience. Think about it. If you're constantly zeroed in on what's wrong, the bills, the arguments, what you feel you're lacking, doesn't that version of reality seem to become more solid, more all-encompassing? On the flip side, when you consciously shift your focus to gratitude, to solutions, to opportunities, even tiny ones, don't you start noticing more of those things? This isn't magic. It's about direction. It's about how your focus shapes your perception, and then how that shapes your actions and reactions. Imagine you decide you're looking for a specific model of car. Suddenly you start seeing it everywhere. Those cars were always there, but your focused attention pulled them into your awareness. The mundane to magical shift here, inspired by the observer effect, is all about realizing the incredible power of your conscious attention. What if you started to observe the good in your life with the same intensity you sometimes use to focus on the challenges? What if you looked for solutions with the same dedication you usually reserve for analyzing problems? This isn't about ignoring what's real, but about actively choosing where to shine the spotlight of your awareness. By consciously directing your focus, you're not literally collapsing quantum wave functions in your house, but you are fundamentally changing your experience of reality, opening doors to new possibilities that were hiding in your blind spot. Section 2. Superposition. Embracing infinite possibilities. Another totally mind-bending idea from quantum physics is superposition. This principle says that before a quantum system is measured, it doesn't exist in one single definite state. Instead, it exists in a kind of blend of all its possible states at the same time. Picture a quantum coin spinning in the air. It's both heads and tails until it lands and someone looks. Only then does it collapse into one definite state. And again, just to be clear, This is all happening with tiny particles. There's no science saying you're literally flipping between multiple realities with every thought. But wow, what an incredible metaphor for our human potential. Inspired by superposition, what if you started thinking that, at any given moment, your life holds a huge range of potential paths and outcomes? So often we feel stuck, don't we? Defined by past experiences or our current situation. I'm just not a confident person. I'll never get ahead financially. Good things just don't happen for people like me. We kind of collapse our own field of possibilities into a single, often limiting story based on old observations or beliefs we've picked up. The transformation here comes from consciously embracing the idea of your own personal field of superposition. Instead of seeing yourself as this fixed, unchangeable thing, what if you saw yourself as a dynamic field of potential? The potential for courage is right there alongside the fear. The potential for abundance is there with the current feeling of lack. The potential for joy exists even when you're sad. This idea of quantum jumping, which you might have heard about in personal development circles, draws its inspiration from this. It's not about physically teleporting, but about making a big, quick shift in your mindset, your energy, and your actions. And by doing that, jumping into a different way of experiencing your reality. You decide to focus on and embody a desired potential state with such clarity and conviction that your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors start to line up with it. Imagine you want to start a new career but feel totally unqualified. The single-state view is, I can't do it. But the superposition-inspired view sounds more like, okay, them who's successful in this new career, that's a potential. Them who learns quickly, that's a potential. Them who finds the right people to help, also a potential. By focusing on these potentials, picturing them, and taking actions as if they're already taking shape, you start to shift your path. In a metaphorical sense, you're choosing which possibility to observe into your experienced reality. This viewpoint can take you from feeling like a victim of your circumstances to an explorer of infinite possibilities. Section 3. Entanglement. The power of interconnectedness. Quantum entanglement might just be one of the strangest and most fascinating quantum phenomena out there. It describes what happens when two or more quantum particles get linked up so deeply that they share the same fate, no matter how far apart they get. If you measure a property of one particle, you instantly know the matching property of the other one, even if it's light years away. Faster than light could even carry the news. Einstein famously called it spooky action at a distance. It points to this profound, basic interconnectedness woven into the very fabric of reality at the quantum level. Now, it's super important to say that current science doesn't show our thoughts or emotions are entangled in this specific physical way, allowing us to psychically nudge distant events or people directly through quantum entanglement. That's a really common misinterpretation. However, entanglement offers an incredibly beautiful and useful metaphor for understanding our lives and our relationships. Think about the vibes you get from people. Think about how your mood can shift the feeling in a room, or how someone else's genuine joy can totally lift your spirits. Consider the ripple effects of kindness or, on the flip side, negativity. While these aren't quantum entanglement in the physics sense, these experiences sure do hint at a deep kind of interconnectedness, don't they? Inspired by entanglement, what if we truly lived as if our thoughts, emotions, and actions had an unseen ripple effect, not just on our own lives, but on everyone around us, and maybe even the wider world? If you cultivate inner peace, does that in some subtle way contribute to a more peaceful environment? If you practice compassion, does that energy reach out beyond your immediate interaction? Lots of spiritual traditions have talked about this kind of interconnectedness for thousands of years. Quantum entanglement, as a metaphor, gives us a modern way to talk about this ancient wisdom. It invites us to think about the quality of the signal we're broadcasting. Are we adding to patterns of stress, fear, and separation? Or are we helping to create connection, love, and understanding? The shift from mundane to magical here, drawing inspiration from entanglement, is realizing you're not an isolated island. Your inner state matters. your intentions matter. The energy you bring to your interactions creates ripples. By focusing on nurturing positive inner states and acting with intention and integrity, you are, in a metaphorical sense, entangling yourself with more positive, supportive, and harmonious experiences and relationships. You start to see yourself as part of a larger, interconnected web, where your own transformation contributes to a bigger, collective shift. Section 4. The Transformation Blueprint, weaving it all together. So we've explored the observer effect, superposition, and entanglement, not as literal how-to guides for mind over matter, but as profound inspirations and rich metaphors for how we can live our lives. The actual transformation doesn't come from believing you suddenly have magical powers, but from applying these interpretations consistently and consciously. This isn't about denying challenges or pretending problems don't exist. It's about where you choose to focus your attention. Our nod to the observer effect. It's about recognizing the multiple possibilities that are always there within and around you, even when you feel stuck. Our inspiration from superposition. And it's about understanding the deep interconnectedness of everything, and how your inner state can influence your outer world and relationships, drawing from entanglement. The everyday mundane reality is often one where we're just reacting, seeing things from a limited viewpoint, and feeling pretty isolated. The magical reality, or maybe better put, the transformed reality, is one of conscious creation, expanded awareness, and deep connection. Here's a simple way to start thinking about this. 1. Conscious observation. Start paying attention to your attention. Where does it go automatically? What thoughts and feelings do you repeatedly observe into what feels like a solid reality? Begin to consciously steer it towards what you want to grow. Solutions, gratitude, opportunities, inner peace. This isn't about squashing negativity, but about choosing not to give it all your precious energy. 2. Embrace potential. When you're facing a challenge or have a goal, actively consider that superposition of possibilities. Instead of automatically thinking, I can't, ask yourself, what if I could? What would that look like? What's one tiny step I could take towards that potential? Let yourself explore different versions of yourself and your future, not as daydreams, but as real potentials you can choose to nurture. 3. Live connected. Acknowledge that your energy, your mood, your intentions, they all have an impact. Practice empathy and compassion. Try to bring your thoughts, feelings, and actions into harmony. Understand that when you contribute positively to your environment and your relationships, you're also boosting your own well-being. This isn't a one-time fix. It's a practice. It's a new way of looking at the world and your place in it, inspired by some of the deepest truths science is uncovering about how the universe works, even if those truths play out differently on our human scale. The real power isn't in trying to literally apply quantum physics to your sofa, but in the huge shift in thinking these ideas can spark within you. If this exploration has sparked something in you, if you're curious to explore further how these perspectives can reshape your world, then take a moment to reflect. What's one area of your life where you can start consciously applying this principle of focused attention? What's one limiting belief you can start to challenge by considering alternative potentials? And if you want to continue this journey of discovery, make sure to subscribe and click that notification bell, because we're going to be exploring more ways to tap into your potential and transform your reality. Share this video with someone who you feel might be ready to shift their outlook from mundane to magical. And please, share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. How have you seen these principles, even metaphorically, show up in your life? Conclusion: empowerment. The universe, it turns out, is far stranger, more interconnected, and more brimming with potential than we often give it credit for. Quantum physics has cracked open a window into the fundamental nature of reality. And while we absolutely have to be careful not to oversimplify or misapply its complex principles, we can still draw immense inspiration from them. The power to transform your reality doesn't lie in literally bending spoons with your mind, but in understanding that your perception, your focus, your beliefs, and your sense of connection are incredibly powerful tools. By interpreting quantum principles as metaphors for personal growth, you gain a new lens to view your life through. A lens that empowers you to move from feeling like a passive bystander in a fixed reality to an active participant in a dynamic, unfolding dance of possibility. The mundane and the magical? They're not so far apart. Often, the shift is simply a change in perspective, a conscious choice to engage with life with intention and awareness. The deepest secrets of the universe aren't just out there. They can resonate within you, guiding you to discover the extraordinary life that is waiting for you to claim it. Start today. Observe your world with new eyes, embrace your potential, and watch as your reality begins to transform.